What's going on, guys? My name is the Aquapolis Project and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be an update video since I haven't posted in about 5 or 6 months. It's going to be a basic update video on stock, condition, and everything else for my new tanks and the old ones. So for a quick update for the 29 gallon, I've still got my terrestrial giant pothos growing, and the roots are actually just starting to regrow. They paused at about halfway for 3 or 4 months, and now they're starting to regrow to try to hit the substrate. This is Bacopa caroliniana. This is hornwort, and this is a random plant I found out of the river near my house. I don't know what it is. I have yet to identify it. I've got a bunch of mopani wood. I've got my Hypostomus pleco, aka common pleco. I've actually got 4 flagfish in here now. They're endemic to Florida, and they're wild caught, and they eat a bunch of algae, including blackbeard algae, which is incredibly important for keeping this tank looking clean. I've got 2 Chinese algae eaters in here, and if I can find him, the final fish in this tank is a bristlenose pleco. There he is. I didn't even see him. Another plant I have is I don't know what kind of plant this is. I'm pretty sure it's a bog plant that is intended to become terrestrial, like immersed, but also growing above the water. However, it has doubled in size without having any access to atmospheric CO2, so I'm not sure if it's going to maintain itself within the water fully or if it's going to melt away. My CAEs have been fighting pretty consistently. They're not getting along well. Everything that usually is a problem in a smaller tank with CAEs and other fish, I've tried to establish a counter to create a physical barrier visual-wise for these fish, so that way if one's on this side and one's on this side, there will be an attempt at least to block their view of each other. That way they can coexist versus seeing each other all the time and always going after each other. But as you can see, it seems like it's momentary, and it is based on certain factors that they fight, because right now they're just chilling together. This is a 29 gallon tall with a canister filter, and I've got an air stone back here, and this is a sponge filter. Once a week I'll have to gravel vac all of this substrate because of the huge amount of waste that the giant Hypostomus pleco makes, and eventually I'm going to have to upgrade my setup to accommodate him for more space. And for plants, I've also got a little piece of water wisteria back there that isn't doing very well because these other plants are way faster growing. Also, I've got some Anacharis in here, don't tell anybody. And over onto my 15 gallon, I've got a up to 60 gallon canister filter installed up to here with it at about max flow. Cories don't like an incredible amount of flow, but they do like a decent amount of circulation. Too much flow will make it so they're unable to sit on the very bottom of the substrate and relax. They'll have to swim against the current in order to stay still. You're gonna want to avoid that. 1 salt and pepper, aka longfin palliatus corydoros. I've got 6 albino corydoros, which are albino aeunius, I believe. 3 white cloud mountain minnows. I've got 6 stalks of Amazon sword, and 3 little bushels of dwarf Sagittaria. They have been stunted since the Amazon sword has completely taken over the PAR of the light. Therefore, the Sagittaria down here isn't doing very well. I got 1 more fish down here. My singular bandit Corydoras, aka Corydoras metae. I bought her about 1.5 years ago at a big box pet store, and I literally haven't found a bandit cory in person for sale at any pet store in my area since. The only way you can get them is online, and I don't like buying fish online, so I tried to accommodate her by adding in other Corydoras of different species, and she seems to have been doing well. Very hungry fish. I got some mopani wood in there to soften the water. The pH is about 7.4. Temperature is at about 75. Water hardness is about 200 ppm for GH, general hardness. And I've got a little sponge filter back there along with the main filtration. And this is actually my healthiest tank. This is the lowest maintenance tank I have, basically because they clean up all the waste, and whatever they don't touch gets sucked up by the filter. And whatever the filter doesn't touch gets eaten up by the snails in here. And whatever the snails don't touch gets consumed by the plants to make them regrow. Probably my favorite tank as well. Here's my cat Buggy. He's a good boy. Over here we'll find my bedroom where I have, boom, a 20 gallon long with 3 nanos, 3, 2, and 1. Down here in the 20 long is where I've actually rehomed my giant Danios that I was talking about in one of the last videos, where they were in just a 10 gallon. This is the baby that was mentioned in one of the other videos. I hatched him from an egg since August 2024, and this is how he looks now. It's actually a female, and she's getting basically the same size as her parents and uncle. But in here I've got potting soil capped with 20 pounds of aquarium sand with probably 10-15 stalks of Anacharis, 2 sponge filters, a piece of Mopani wood to soften and buffer the water. I've got a single specimen of Anubias nanas sp, which is basically an invincible stem plant, rhizome stem plant. And over here I've got more Bacopa caroliniana. I've got a Hygger full spectrum planted light for the top. And as far as filtration goes, I'm upgrading to a canister filter very soon. I'm going to drill holes in this wood under here, have it go all the way up through, and have my canister filter sit right there. But until then, I've got a 35-gallon internal filter that I've been cleaning and taking care of, that has been taking care of these guys for a couple of months. Since I moved them into the 20, their behavior has changed significantly. They've been more presenting in a natural manner, where they've been swimming in one spot against the current. These guys are fun to watch eat. They're frenzy feeders, but if you notice, they actually do take turns depending on the amount of food that you introduce for them for the feeding. These guys are full of personality, and they're actually one of the toughest fish you can start out with in the aquarium hobby. Now, onto my 3-gallon nano tank. I've got a Hygger full spectrum light up here with a small nano HOB hang-on back filter. So the dial for the T valve that adjusts the water flow in this air pump has just fallen through the hole that I created for the cords on the back of this tank, so probably gonna have to get a replacement for that. That's fun. But in this tank I've got Anacharis, small piece of Mopani wood, some bladder snails, and ram's horn snails. Now in this tank I also have a baby boog. He is a red delta tail male beta. I saved him from Petco. He was $5, and he was in the way back, and he was very feisty when I found him, but he was covered. His tank, his little cup was just like a complete quarter-inch on the bottom of just waste. And so I knew he was living in pure ammonia. So I dropped him into this cycled nano tank with plants, and actually a lot of wild copepods that lived in here for a live food source that no longer exist in here because he ate them all. Long story short, rescued this beta from Petco. He's having a fucking great time. He's one of my new favorite fish just based on his personality. And yeah, betas are sick, man. Over here I've got my hornwort grow-out tank, as well as a copepod and scud grow-out tank. This was initially my scud tank, my leaf litter scud tank. It's called a Rebel tank, actually. I had like probably 3,000 or 4,000 scuds in here, along with probably the same amount of copepods. And for some reason, even after buffering the water and making sure the hardness was completely normal for them, everything parameter-wise was perfect, they still died out. And I have a few theories, but I'm not sure if it's worth it to go over them in this video. Plant grow-out tank, as well as scuds and copepod grow-out tank with no predators, no natural predators, no natural light. It's just to help. So this is the layer that we're looking for, this huge detritus layer. That is food for the scuds and copepods. This is basically living food that will eventually become edible for them as it falls down to the bottom and decomposes. Over here is more of an attempt to make it an environment for them that is self-sustaining, but I have since failed in the scud department, but the copepods are fucking thriving in here. That is going to be an ongoing project for me, figuring out what's going wrong with my scud colony. But other than that, we've got Beta Man, we've got Hornwort Grow-Out, and we've got the upgraded tank for my giant Danios, which these guys, I know I say this a lot about fish, but giant Danios do tend to be my favorite fish, just because of how hardy they are. They'll eat anything, they're goofy, they're entertaining, they're easy to take care of, and most importantly, they appreciate when you feed them. When you come into the room, when they recognize you, if you're the person who feeds them all the time, they get excited. And maybe you're wondering, what's this piece of crap up here that you're doing with? Basically under here is, I've got a bunch of moss that I found under my garage that I put into here, and then I took a piece of cycled media that was in this filter, put it into that internal filter, put some filter floss in there, piece of Mopani wood, and now it's cycled, but I eventually am going to be putting another beta in here, possibly another delta tail, different color. Wow, that looks really clean there, Mr. Aquapolis Project. I wonder where all your cords are.